Hello, good morning, everyone. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah. I'm coming live to you on Tuesday, 24 October 2023. And today I'm going to be sharing with you how to add memorabilia into your scrapbook albums, and also this fun first and second generation stamping border, which you can see here in the bottom right hand corner of my scrapbook layout. I hope you are all having a wonderful start to your week. For those of you that are friends with me on social media, you will have seen a fun weekend we just had in Melbourne celebrating our daughter's 22nd birthday, which was so much fun. Very, very busy few days, but I am back in the office and excited to share this Technique Tuesday class with you. Good morning, Megan. Thanks for joining us. So let's get started. This week's scrapbooking challenge comes to you from pattern number 14, which is in the Make It From Your Heart Volume 3 book. So this is a scrapbooking pattern how-to guide. The thing I love about this how-to pattern book is you can pick a pattern from the guide and you can recreate it using any of your scrapbooking papers that you already have or scrapbooking papers that you purchase down the track. You will see here we've got the pattern on the left-hand side. There's cutting instructions here, and then you can recreate the layout following the pattern here. You can see they've given you a couple of examples here. So I have skipped ahead and we are doing pattern 14 this week. So I posted the weekly scrapbooking challenge yesterday morning, and the cutting instructions are in the comment section of that post. If you have got volume 3 of the Make It From Your Heart guide, then please feel free to follow along with the pattern in the book. You can still purchase this how-to guide, and we've also just released volume 6 on September 1st. Volumes 4 and 5 have sold out, but we have just released a new volume 6. I'm making my way through the patterns out of volume 3 because I find that this particular how-to guide is a really great one for beginners if you're just starting out scrapbooking as well, because the patterns themselves are actually really easy to follow and quite aesthetic pleasing as well. So I wanted to teach you how to incorporate memorabilia into your scrapbook pages this week, because as we know, Christmas is coming, and we quite often, the term scrapbooking really is about putting photos and memorabilia into your albums. So the great thing with that is that you can obviously include your stories, but putting memorabilia into your album is a really fun thing to do as well. So these might be when you go on holidays, you might collect postcards or memorabilia, ticket stubs, flyers. Quite often when I'm traveling, I have like a little a travel notebook, and in there I stuff all of those little bits and pieces that I'm collecting along the way, and will quite often incorporate that memorabilia into my scrapbook. So travel scrapbooking and memorabilia is very popular. A school year's album and adding memorabilia to a school year's album is also very popular, adding certificates. And I'm going to share some alternative ways that you can include memorabilia into your scrapbook today as part of Technique Tuesday. And of course, with Christmas coming, people collect Christmas cards. I always keep handmade cards, and I do have an album that I pop them into. Letters at Christmas time. So for example, what I've done here with this week's weekly scrapbooking challenge is you can see the layout on the base page, which I have taken from pattern 14. This is on page 32 of your how-to guide. So you can see the photos and the papers, my creative bits and pieces, and my journaling are on the base page of the layout. And what I've done here is actually incorporated some memorabilia into the layout. So this is what we call a flip flap. So the flip flaps come in lots of different sizes. This particular flip flap I'm using is an 8 by 12 inch flip flap. and a very popular size for certificates and letters as part of your memorabilia, maybe posters. It's the closest we have. We do have another pocket actually, which is great for A4 size memorabilia, and I'm going to share that with you a little bit later on in the video. And you can see what I've done here when I've added this flip flap on is I've actually continued the border pattern across the top of my flip flap here. So when this layout is in my scrapbook album, the reader can see that it is a continual border pattern across the top here, and then this is designed to be actually flipped out, and I've added some extra photos on top of here as well. So these papers here I've taken from the September and October mix-in paper pack. So these coordinate with the Christmas papers. I've also used the zip strip. So the zip strip was left over from my Home for Christmas scrapbooking workshop kit. I did open another piece of paper to get that third zip strip, of course. And then these papers here are also from the September and October mix-in paper pack. So our September-October catalogue will be finishing up next week on the 31st. If there's anything that you're wanting in this particular catalogue, you'll need to make sure that you add that to your order before the end of this month. The mix-in paper pack is a very popular paper pack, and the reason for that being is that this mix-in paper pack actually mixes in with the other two paper packs that we feature in the bi-monthly catalogue. So we've already covered the Good Life for September, and now we are working with the October paper collection, Home for Christmas. So I love using my mix-in paper pack because I can use this paper pack to bulk up the paper collection from the other two collections in the bi-monthly catalogue, and I can also use it to bulk up any leftovers I have left over from my monthly scrapbooking workshop kit that I'm using. So that is a really great tip there for you girls. And because I love the papers so much, I have started investing in 2 of the mix-in paper packs. You only get 6 sheets of paper in a mix-in paper pack. So if you are wanting to do a double page spread, it makes it a little bit tricky because you would have to either cut a 12-inch piece of paper in half to spread that across a double page layout. That's why I've started investing in a second pack of my mix-in paper packs. But these papers here were left over, okay? I did open a second Home for Christmas paper pack to get that third zip strip. I've used mink cardstock for my base, and I've opted for the lighter side of the mink cardstock. The stickers were left over from my Home for Christmas scrapbooking workshop kit. And what I've done here to make this little cluster pattern here is I've stamped the word December 2519 for the year, and I've also stamped the postage stamp, and I've stamped the ABC stamps as well. So the stamp set that I'm sharing with you today is called Stories of the Season. This stamp set is in your September-October catalogue on page 44. And this is a really fun stamp set if you're wanting to just document some of your seasonal stories. You can see in the catalogue here, they've done a border pattern down the side. This is where I got the inspiration from to stamp the little postage and put the dates inside there as well. So the stamp set that I've used, I've actually left that in the other room, but the stamp set that I've used to stamp these numbers is the Anthem Alphabet stamp set. It's actually a stamp set with coordinating thin cuts, okay? So I've stamped December in scarlet. I've done some little Christmas embellishment stamps also from the Stories of the Season stamp set. That I've stamped in pine. This is stamped in scarlet, and that is the Intense Black ink. On this page here, I've stamped the first and second generation, the Christmas trees from the Stories of the Season stamp set. I've stamped these in pine, and I'm going to demonstrate that technique here too today. And then with my gift tags, I've also stamped the gift tags. This is also in first and second generation stamping, which I'm going to be demonstrating today. That is also from the Stories of the Season stamp set. And then you've got the little Feeling Merry sentiment. And we've done bullet point journaling here, and I've just listed, this was Christmas morning in 2019, and we've just got some random photos of my family and I opening Christmas presents on Christmas morning. So I tend to find that now my kids are older, I take less photos of opening presents, or I might take a whole heap of series of randoms and photos, but I might only pick 1 or 2 or 3 of my favorite photos to actually scrapbook. And I've really now just got one double page spread of Christmas morning as opposed to multiple layouts or pocket scrapbooking where I've got tons of photos of the kids on Christmas morning. If you still have little ones or you've got grandkids, pocket scrapbooking is a really great way to get lots of photos into an album, and I'm going to be sharing some of those examples with you after the demonstration here. So we've got some bullet point journaling. So this has been stamped using the bullet point stamp. And then we've got the rows here. So you will note there's 5 bullet point stamps here, but only 3 rows. So what I had to do here, I've stamped the first lot of 3 rows. And then the second lot, I've actually put, you've got an option to put masking tape over something, which is a masking technique. I think I might have to teach that in one of our Technique Tuesday classes. Or you can actually align your stamp up on your block so you don't actually stamp one of the rows with any ink. You can get just the bottom 2 rows on your ink pads. So that's how I did that. Sometimes the masking tape techniques gets a little bit fiddly, but I will definitely teach that at some stage. I've popped the Christmas tags up with some 3D foam tape. I've done some little stamping of the Christmas embellishments in pine here. And I've used some of the sparkles, the clear sparkles on my layout just to give it that little Christmas bling look. Now, when it comes to adding memorabilia into your albums, ladies, the really cool thing here, what I've actually done is I've got my sheet of cardstock. So I've actually created, it's almost like an extra layout. And I've used the mint cardstock. I wanted to match up the mint cardstock. So when this is in the front of the album here, this is what the reader sees in my scrapbook. This actually all coordinates on the front section here. On the back section is the other side of the mint cardstock, which we don't see because this is where I've stuck my memorabilia. So what I've got here, I've actually stuck the envelopes right on top of the cardstock. Now, these particular letters were written to us by Kayla. You can see we've got photos of us here opening our presents and our letters from Kayla. But this was Christmas 2019. So she just graduated from school. She was planning on going to America the year following in 2020 to work at a summer camp in Maine. We had bought her a travel backpack and also a new suitcase for her travels. And so she was very excited as she was getting ready to take off on that next step of life. You've graduated school, you're excited about your future. And she had written both of us a letter and then individual letters, one to mum and one to dad. And I've actually got these letters inside the envelopes here. I didn't want them out on the layout, so sometimes I will put letters or handwritten cards actually onto the layout, but they're quite big letters. They were tricky to get on and also really personal. But basically in here were letters from her thanking us for getting her through her schooling years journey, supporting her, loving her, encouraging her, and really just helping her to get ready in taking that next step in life where you've graduated school and you're reaching for your dreams. And she had all these exciting, wonderful things to look forward to. 3 months later, we know what happened. COVID hit and all of that changed. And it was really funny. I actually took a photo of this and I showed it to her on the weekend and I said, do you remember writing us these letters? And she said, oh my gosh, no. Now, guys, this was only Christmas 4 years ago, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 4 years ago, she wrote us these letters and she'd completely forgotten she'd even written us the letters. But to me as her mum, these were really special letters where she poured her heart and soul into them. They were so thoughtful, so emotional, and she presented them to us on Christmas morning with our Christmas gifts from her. So really, really special. And that is why I choose to incorporate some memorabilia in my albums. If you've got memorabilia that is important to you, it might be, as I said, a handmade card. It might be a letter someone has written you, something special. And so to incorporate that memorabilia into your scrapbook And even better, alongside the photos that you have got with it is something really, really special. Now, I hadn't forgotten that she'd written me these letters, but I had them stashed away somewhere, and then I pulled them out just recently and I thought, oh my gosh, I really want to put these letters into an album. So I've got them there to remember for all time. Now, the letters themselves were actually larger than my 8 by 12 inch base of cardstock. So I did have to cut the envelope down, as you can see. And then the letter itself was sticking out of the envelope, and it didn't enable me to fold this flap over really easily. So I did have to just fold about 1/2 inch of the letter in on itself in order to be able to slide that into the envelope to keep it there safely, but so it wasn't hanging out over the edge of my flip flap. Okay. So, I don't always keep all the memorabilia that the kids write, but this, you know, she's got her handwriting on here. She's decorated the envelope. It was really special. I don't know where Dad's envelope went, but that's okay. I've actually got both the mum and the dad envelope letter in here together. But sometimes I do love to include memorabilia where my kids have handwritten, and I'm going to show you some other examples of that in a moment. So I've stuck the envelope onto the back of the cardstock. The letter's folded inside there. You can see where I've overlapped one envelope over the other. And then I have actually slid this whole sheet of cardstock into the 8 by 12 inch flip flap. And so then when I flip this over like so, it's actually folding really nicely. I don't have anything sticking out of here, okay? So there are different products that you can use for your memorabilia, and it is a matter of thinking, okay, what size is my memorabilia? How can I best incorporate this into the album? And in your essentials catalog, you've actually got a couple of different products from pages 49 through to 51 that will help you to incorporate memorabilia into your scrapbook albums. Now, we have got pocket scrapbooking sleeves. We've also got some other memorabilia sleeves. These are in 8.5 by 11 inches. These are great for your certificates and letters. I did look at putting it into one of these sleeves, but it is a top loading sleeve and I wanted to slide it in and flip it out. So this is where I've looked at my other memorabilia options, such as the flip flaps. We've got these all in a variety of different sizes. In last week's Technique Tuesday, I did demonstrate how to incorporate the flip flap into your album, and I actually in the video stuck the flip flap in as well. I used the 4 by 6 inch side. So the way that I have done that in last week's video is exactly the same way that I've done it in this week's video, in that I've put the memorabilia in. The flap actually gets folded back in on itself, so you don't have any overhang here. And then I've aligned that adhesive edge right up against the edge of my scrapbook sleeve. So again, you don't see any overhang there at all. And it sticks down really nicely, and I'm not covering anything on the base page of my layout as well. Now, the great thing with the 8 by 12 inch flip flaps, if you're using these for your memorabilia, girls, is that you can then actually create almost another scrapbook page. Well, not almost, you can create another scrapbook page right on top of your memorabilia pocket. So as I mentioned before, I've used the mint cardstock to match up that base. I had room, so I added 2 other 3 by 4 inch photos on the top. I've just made sure I've lined them up with the photo on the base page. So then as the reader is looking through the album, the eye draws from left to right and it just looks aesthetic. This was leftover mix-in paper pack I had from my base page. So I've cut that down. I've left the same amount of width of border here as I have done here again, so it just coordinates. And then this was looking a little bit bare down the bottom here, so I've actually stamped a 1st and 2nd generation border down the bottom of my cardstock, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you this morning. I can see that Mel and Joe have joined us. Morning, ladies. Thank you so much for popping on live and for your patience this morning. So what I've done here is I have cut some cardstock. I'm going to show you the 1st and 2nd generation with the cards, the gift tags, sorry, first of all. And then I'm going to show you the stamping of the border on the 6 inches. So we're going to pretend I'm going to make another border here. This is 6 inches, and I'm going to stamp the Christmas trees down the bottom here just to show you how to do that. It is a technique which we call random stamping, which is a little bit funny. Now, one thing I do want to give you a tip on, girls, with this Stories of the Season stamp set, I'm just going to take this foam insert off really gently. There are, you can see here, that's just peeled off on top of that. There are some really small little stamps on this carrier sheet, which are the little Christmas stars. When you use them again and again and you get ink on them and you're cleaning them, they actually start to lose their stick a little bit. So I want you to be really careful with these little stamps when you're peeling off your carrier sheet, because I did have a situation where they fell onto the carpet a couple of times. And as some of you know, those little stamps can be really tricky to find again if they fall off their carrier sheet. You can get your stamp to re-grip by washing your stamp with very mild or running it just under warm water on the tap, or very, very mild detergent as well. So what I've done here is I've just put my Christmas tag onto my block. I've got my pine ink pad here. I've already conditioned this stamp, so I'm not going to need to do that again. And what I'm doing here is just inking my stamp up, making sure I've got lots of ink on there. And first and second generation stamping, I'm going to stamp that once, and then I'm going to stamp it a second time without re-inking it, okay? And that is how you're going to get your different shades of your ink pad. So you can see here, I've got my pine ink was my first generation, and this one here was the second generation. And then all I did here was fussy cut my tags out. So you want to make sure that you're leaving enough space there between those tags. All I've done here is fussy cut my tags out. I did leave a little bit of a white border around the edge of my tags there. And then I've stuck my tags onto my scrapbook page with some 3D foam tape. And then I've put some clear sparkles just in the middle here where the little tag icon goes. I haven't done a very good job with that being straight, but that's okay, because I can cut this tag out and then I can overlap that over that one there, and I can cover up my not so straight border there. So that's your first and second generation stamping for your tags. You could stamp those tags in a lighter color as well, girls. So for example, if I wanted to journal on, I've used a sticker here instead, but you could actually journal on the gift tags as well, because there are lines on here. And I have seen some layouts done where they have actually journaled on those gift tags. I don't think we've got an example here. They've got the gift tag and they've just cut it and they've snuck it in and underneath another photo. But you certainly could use it as a journaling piece. Now, I finished with my tag. So what I've got here is my stamp chamois. So this is already wet and I have just run that under my tap with some cold water. I'm just using my stamp chamois to wipe that ink off. I leave my stamp chamois sitting in a stamp chamois case, and that airs out so it doesn't get all manky and smelly. And then I'm peeling that off my block and putting it straight back onto my carrier sheet. So I'm going to grab the Christmas trees now to show you this border that I did on my scrapbook page. And I've used both the larger tree and the smaller tree. So I'm going to pop one tree just in the middle of my 2x2 inch block. And I'm going to put my smaller tree on my 1x1 inch block. Okay. And we are using our foam square here. And this is the bottom of my 6x6 inch base. So what we're going to do here is a combination of some random stamping, but also some first and second generation stamping. I haven't got that tree on very straight, so I'm going to stamp this first and then realign that. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit there, girls. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to line my stamp up just at the bottom of my scrapbook layout. And I'm going to stamp that once and twice, just randomly. I'm going to line him up. I'm just going to stamp that once and twice, just randomly, so it doesn't have to go anywhere in particular. You can see that I've ended up with some ink there, so I'll have to fix that. And now what I'm doing here is stamping some smaller trees just up next to my bigger ones. And this is what we call random stamping. There's really no rhyme or reason here as to how you can line these up, but you're going to end up with this really cool pattern where all your stamps will be randomly stamped and they'll be first and second generation ink. I need to make sure I don't go too far off that border there. But see how I've ended up with this ink at the top? That's because I'm rocking my block inside the ink pad, all right? So I'm just going to get that excess ink off. So we're only tapping that because I've rocked that. Now that rocking happens when you're putting too small a stamp on a bigger block. So I really should be putting this on a smaller block. I'm just going to ink up my small one here. And when you're rocking your block, it's because the block that you've got it on is too big for your stamp, because then you end up with excess ink. I'm just tapping. I don't need to rock it in the ink. You end up with excess ink around your block, and then you get all of this mistake up the top here, you can see. But that's fine. I can just grab my paper trimmer and I can cut him down. I'm just going to add a couple more here to fill in that space. How cool is that? So then you end up with this really fun tree border here. So I can cut that off, or I can get rid of my excess, or I can stick a sticker over that or some photos of that so you don't see that at all. So that's my fun random stamping, but also first and second generation stamping technique. I'm going to wipe my blocks off, my ink off my stamps and my blocks there, the excess ink. And I'm just going to grab another album now, girls, to give you some other examples of how you can incorporate memorabilia into your scrapbooking pages. So I hope you've enjoyed that stamping technique, first and second generation stamping, and we've done the first and second generation stamping here too, but also random stamping. You can see how different that one looks to this one here as well. So that's the whole point of random stamping. There's no rhyme or reason. You just randomly stamp and it ends up looking super, super awesome. So I've just got another album that I'm going to share here with you to give you some examples of incorporating memorabilia into your scrapbook album. Now, this is Jai's school year's album. I'm not going to go through the whole album itself, but I'm just going to point out a couple of examples of how I've included memorabilia into his scrapbook here. And it will be a matter of having a bit of a look through. Here's one example here. So this here was his happy birthday tag, and there was a little sticker that he got for his birthday. And I've actually stuck the sticker onto some 3x3 inch cardstock. And then on the back of that, I've just slid in the disc, which was his little birthday tag, okay? And that has gone into a 3x3 inch flip flap. And I've stuck that flip flap over the top of where they have sung happy birthday to him, a photo that I took at kindergarten. This was another memorabilia pocket that I've used here. So these are the 8.5 by 11 inch memorabilia pockets. These are great for certificates, as you can see, and also letters that you might want to include in your scrapbook album. Now, the one thing I do want to point out with this size memorabilia is that the American size of their version of a letter is different to our size letter, which is a standard piece of paper, which is A4 size. In America, their standard sizes are 8.5 by 11 inches. So the annoying thing with that, with the memorabilia, so this is on page 49 of your Essentials catalogue. This is the 8.5 by 11 inch memorabilia pocket. Now, this actually goes into your album. You can insert this into your postbound or your D-ring album, and then it flips like a page just in your album, okay? We do have album sizes that are 8.5 by 11 inches, but this size sleeve, this size memory protector is very popular for the Australian market in order for us to include certificates and memorabilia. The thing with this though, girls, is that you do have to cut your certificates and your memorabilia down. This is a top loading sleeve, and you can see here where I've actually stuck the memorabilia back to back so it doesn't slide around. In order to fit this in the 8.5 by 11 inch sleeve, you can see here I have had to cut a little bit off each end. This was a certificate I got for Auskick at school, and this was his original letter of enrollment. Yes, I keep everything. That's why I scrapbook. I keep memorabilia, important things. This was dated 2008, and this was his acceptance letter to school. So I did keep that. All my memorabilia I keep organised in years, and then when it comes to actually scrapbook them. So, for example, I might have some photos of us on holiday, and I've taken some memorabilia at the same time I took those photos. When I go to print those photos, I will have a little post-it note that I put down with the photos to remind me that I've got memorabilia to go in that album. You can see here where I've used the 8 by 12 inch flip flap, which is the memorabilia pocket that I've just showed you. This here has got a school newsletter for memorabilia. And then this was his leader card from the classroom and the front page of his parent handbook. This was the newsletter here welcoming him to school, and his little memorabilia tag, which went on his classroom desk. So little things like this I have kept, and then I've incorporated that memorabilia into the album. So that's using the 8 by 12 inch flip flap, and then this is using the 8.5 by 11 inch. You can see here I've got 2 certificates stuck on here back to back as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can incorporate memorabilia into your album. You can put them into your pocket sleeves like I've done here. You can see here I've got another little bit of memorabilia which I've just slid into a 3 by 4 inch flip flap, and I've added that onto a photo. And then this here, we've got a newsletter write-up, his first sports day, and then I've added a photo. I've literally stuck the photo in a flip-flap right over the top of his school newsletter. So this was the best album to be able to show you, because I do put lots of memorabilia into the kids' school albums with their certificates and things. The pocket scrapbooking is a great way to add memorabilia as well. You can slide in postcards from your holidays. I've got another little memorabilia pocket here as well. So it really just depends on what size the memorabilia is and how you're going to best store that into your scrapbook album. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the term scrapbooking means to add photos and memorabilia to your album. So it's kind of like all your different scraps of pieces into one big book. So you've got your memory protectors on pages 49, your pocket scrapbooking, and your flip flaps on pages 50 and 51. They are definitely one of the essentials that you will have for your scrapbooking, girls. I hope you've got some great tips today by incorporating memorabilia into your scrapbook albums, and I hope you've got some special documents, letters, handmade cards, certificates, lots of special little things that you've probably collected and kept over time that you now are inspired to include in your scrapbooking with your photos and your stories documented. Hope you've got some great tips. Enjoy the rest of your week, girls, and I look forward to seeing what you create this week. Bye for now.